Hi, this is Shirish Kulkarni, CEO and founder of Stroth Consultech, which is a consulting company into the space of small and medium businesses growth and helping small and medium businesses for last 5 years. In this initiative called as Hatke, we're talking to various industry owners, personalities who have mattered for the industry, personalities who have brought about a change, have grown the industries, and we have a great honor to have Tansen Chowdhury with us. So welcome Tansen to this forum.
Thanks, Shirish. Thank you.
Wonderful. So as I was reading and talking to you about your story, how did you manage to grow this company, Fluid Controls, right? Being a CEO now, from such a size of 15 crores to 153 crores. That's a great achievement, right?
Yes, definitely. So, Shirish, I mean, to tell you, thank you so much. It's a great initiative. What you've been driving on Hatke, as the name suggests, you are focusing on something which is Hatke.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure it will help the newcomers to learn from each other. Basically, it's a world of learning from each other. Okay, and how you learn Hatke from others also is a new method, which I really like and compliment to you. Basically,
Right.
it's a great initiative. More than giving somebody a fish, you are sort of teaching somebody how to fish. Yeah,
Wonderful.
so I
Nicely.
think it's a wonderful initiative, and thank you for even giving me this opportunity to have my sharings with you. Basically, going to your question, which is a very broad question, I would say the number from 15 to 153 looks very
I basically
big.
wanted to
Now,
start with the icebreaker. So great to see you introduce yourself. Maybe you can talk about the company first. What is the key thing that you are doing, which markets, and then we roll on to the main question of growth.
sure.
Should be
In
okay.
fact, see, this company is founded way back in 1974, and the
Mhm.
founder himself was that time doctorate from an American university, Dr.
Wow.
Y.E. Muchalla. So
Okay.
he himself is a brand from the foundation days.
Mhm.
2011, he had a heart attack and he passed away. And at the same time, I moved from Bangalore to Pune. Basically, I'm a mechanical engineer. Finished my PhD from IIT Mumbai and joined the General Electric R&D Center. Worked globally with GE for 10 years. And in 2011, I also had my personal thing, so I moved to Pune. Basically, I'm from Pune.
Okay.
So it was a timing coincidence, but then my span of GE careers really trained me from a researcher to a Six Sigma quality expert to an ombudsperson against bureaucracy, values, then and typically a P&L leader, basically. Okay. So when I moved to Pune and Fluid Controls was looking for someone as a sort of techno-commercial expertise in terms of
Mm-hmm.
this business, I was approached by a consultant and I said, why not give it a discussion short thought? Where it went is that I myself was thinking that, okay, in a bigger company, you are a drop in the ocean. Okay.
Mm.
And when I looked at Fluid Control, I said, why not look at this where I can make a drop into an ocean, basically. Okay. Of course, there are always challenges, and without challenges, I don't think there is enough any fun in the business. And that's where I chose this opportunity, and I said, let me use this opportunity to implement all my learnings of so-called research, so-called global expertise, so-called PNL, and General Electric big background into this company. And I joined in 2011 this company, and of course, the journey started from the day one. And I said, when I understood this organization, I said, in G, I used to make PowerPoint and used to give my power of the point. Whereas here, I said, I will not make PowerPoint, but I will have only power of the point.
Mm-hmm.
And also believed that after joining the first few days, I realized that unless I do some chamatkar, there will be no namaskar. So it is, you have to have something like, as you are doing something hatke, you need to have an hatke thing, because imagine an organization 74 started small organization, etc. And suddenly somebody, big man coming in the corporate world and talking, you know, guys, that doesn't work. So I said, okay, it's a good opportunity to prove yourself and do something. And that's where the day I started, and I focused primarily not any processes, though I'm a process man. I said, let me talk about people and product first, and then I will get into process parallelly. Because see, it is like this, that in a small business, you have to have a business coming in, cash flow generation, supply, inventory, and so on, so on things. Now, if I say that, okay, let's first establish an organization in terms of process, believe me, I do not have that luxury of money or capital to say that, okay, one thing at a time. No. But then that's where I started. And believe me, the founder's sort of daughter, who's the current managing director, Ms. Sophia Muchala, she also comes from a corporate background of 10 plus years of working with Coke. And she, of course, studied in United States and worked with Coke for a long time after her MBA. So we had a good combination of thoughts in terms of saying that where do we want to take this organization, basically. Of course, I would always encourage the discussion conflicts because it is for betterment of the organization. It is nothing to do with my ego versus your ego and all that. You know, I kept a frame of mind saying that, okay, here are 150 people, 15 crores of the turnover or 12 crores of the turnover, and let's grow. So that's where I said, as I said, product and the people I started focusing. And then we started looking into verticals also. So if I give a three-dimensional coordinate to say that product, a market segment, and a geography, basically. So this was a good combination where I started focusing in terms of the customers, in terms of the product positioning, and in terms of the growth. Of course, the day I joined, I carved out clear value structure for the business, vision and the mission statement, and said, under this banner, we are going to go, basically. So you need to have solid foundation, and integrity, reliability, and innovation are the three values on which Fluid Control is built, basically. I always say I square R sort of, okay, and that's where we've been currently driving also. And during these last 9 to 10 years, yes, we took some hard decision in terms of integrity, where we realized that an individual was trying to play with the organization and the thoughts of the organization, etc. And then we did not mind taking it a hard decision as such. So coming back in terms of summary, I joined Fluid Controls and set the ground rules in terms of, okay, here is where we will go. Now, growth is, yes, one has to aim, but it cannot be just growth, growth, growth. To say that I don't care, I want only growth, that will not happen. You need to look into people, process, product, and of course, comes along with passion. So there has to be a passion. So you need to have yourself a role model for the business, for employees, for customers, and then drive that thing. And believe me, what we did together, my managing director and myself, was that. Super. And of course, in 1-2 years, to tell you, I joined as an employee, but now I'm a shareholder in the company. You know, so that's a recognition, I think, about the efforts. But then it is a journey where I would say that we started with a clear foundation, strategy, and of course, a clear dedication.
I think it's to summarize, it is matter of how the whole organization got looked at in the form of the segments like product, process, and process was definitely coming as a later stage. But which segment that you need to focus on, and eventually translating that as a strategy to roll on from years to year. And it is great to see that, you know, any employee gets the best of the best recognition to become a stakeholder of that company. So I think
yes,
that's
so,
really amazing.
So here what we did, frankly, in terms of process, I will say is that we had a good products offerings with us. We were really not tapping the right market segments. So currently we go to the market with so-called infrastructure, to say railways, then we go into power segment, then we go into defense, and we have oil and gas. Okay. Now, when any organization things are growing, I think there are multiple ways people start looking into. What we did where we said we have products, let's reach out to maximum segments, maximum customer base first parallelly, so that you get a good revenue stream first. Then on that, keep adding the product as a development. Let's create intellectual property around it. And the third thing is, of course, have a innovation focus for next 5 years, next 3 years. So we started working on 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year plan,
Mm-hmm.
so that my products and my people and my processes, how I will look at them from 1, 3, 5 years. Every year we used to review this 3 year plan, 5 year plan, and recalibrate yourself for the next year. Get into the budgets, gets into the capex, and
Mm-hmm.
get into the developments. So strategically, if I have to say that we focus on growth, yes, we built a continuity of revenue in the I would say, base of the pyramid first. Then we added on the new products and the segments and of course the intellectual property. And
Mm-hmm.
then we looked at new market and new geographies, etc. in terms of growth. For example, we have export revenue coming in from United States, Europe, and of course Southeast Asia as well. Now we have a sort of joint venture company in Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Dammam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, especially only focusing on oil and gas.
Right.
So what we did were we products and the geographies. I think we first did the intermix together.
Okay. Okay. Now, thinking about a hard cake consists of the health. I think most important to look at our own health as well as health of the organization. And I think you talked about it. Health parameters for the organization would definitely be pulse of the organization in the form of how the business is getting delivered. Various matrices are there, right? So I think coming back to the technology aspect.
Mm-hmm.
In your view, how important is the technology aspect? Now, it could be part of the design process, it could be part of the engineering process, it could be manufacturing process, it could be supply chain, it could be logistics. So how do you see importance of technology as such across the value chain?
In fact, it's a very good question. I would say rather, Shirish, it is the other way to say that this is the answer to the question.
Okay.
So one has to really look at technology across the segment. And believe me, if one says that I will look only into design aspect of a product, it's not going to work. You know, even the technology aspects work for even for people. Basically, earlier we used to have Microsoft Excel as a driver. Now we have a ERP, enterprise resource planning, across the business. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier we used to have vendors, couple of vendors, and as usual you say that okay, you really look at how do they deliver. What we did now, we have created a vendor partnership where we said we have provided infrastructure to our suppliers
Mm-hmm.
at our cost. They did of course repayment through the billings. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we gave our own technology to them with clear NDA. And believe me, those vendors only work for us. Okay.
Oh,
So
right.
I say that it is not my vendor, it is my extended setup basically.
But yeah.
Then we came back to in terms of purchases, where inventory turnover ratio, etc., etc. We looked at it from that long-term and short-term angle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing I will say is intellectual property. We have created an intellectual property. We have filed a patent, and of course, the patent got granted without even single edit. You know, which I
Wonderful.
am proud of. Basically, okay. In General Electric era, I have many disclosure and patent to my credible credit, but
Mm.
this is the first patent which we have done in fluid controls.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes. And
Superb.
what I look at is that we even went to Government of India, to Department of Science and Technology, and we registered our R&D unit as an in-house R&D unit, DSIR, Department of Science and
Mm.
Industrial Research. And we are the only company in our product segment to have that DSIR recognition.
I
So
think,
believe
yeah.
me, it is not only milking the cow, but it is the way you really have the technology spanning across each segment. And that's where I said that you give me an answer about my question rather. You know, so technology really played a key role across the segment for fluid controls in
Yeah,
all
yeah.
segments.
See, typically you see a kind of a resistance, inherent resistance for MSME, and the kind of transition I have seen of, say, you or a person who has got exposed to huge amount of tools and technologies by default as a part of the ecosystem in a corporate like you were. It becomes very evident and natural for us to expect those tools to be around. And I think that is a major differentiator eventually, as you see, looking back, maybe, from 153 back, uh, you would have, can you describe that change technologically? What was, say, tally system that was earlier local instances to engineering where you had some small 1 or 2 AutoCAD licenses, some numbers, some kind of facts? You have something that you can share?
Yes, yes. Shirish, exactly. See, earlier, when I joined, we used to work on AutoCAD, okay, on a two-dimensional things.
Mm.
Now, typically, as I said, chicken and egg story, I invested into SolidWorks as a software and went on in terms of three-dimensionaling, then sort of
Okay.
parameterization and so on and so forth. One of
Mm.
the thing in terms of, as you were saying, technological change driving across, etc. I did not even look at a person's caliber and capability in terms of education as such. I said, I looked at the person's adaptability to the current and existing changes. I said, if I want to change people and say I will hire best of the talent and will do that, my base cost wouldn't be able to help and sustain. So what I did was I worked with individuals and converted them in terms of that technological change. And I said, let's go on to this. Nobody is born intelligent, okay, but everybody
Right.
learns in the way in terms of taking that thing forward. So hand holding was one of the things which we did across the organization, and we converted many people from typically a negative mentality or oh, nothing will happen sort of thing to yes, I am part of you basically, okay.
Mm.
And that's where we created design basis, the technological basis, then in terms of the drawings, 3D models, even the tolerances.
Mm-hmm.
We trained our suppliers even to say that how do I really look at those drawings, how do I really look at in terms of developing and value addition. So introduce the concepts of so-called re-engineering. Okay, so every day you question what I did yesterday, you know. So
Mm.
question that, bring in that lean Six Sigma approach of systematically driving anything and everything. Okay, it is not about only doing good and bad things, but okay, let's question how and how what we do basically. So ask 5 times why basically. Okay,
Mm.
rather than imbibing and sort of, I would say, only tools bombardment. I did one thing at a time, saying that okay, this thing let's drive, and this is how the team will work. We started working into center of excellence, a small core teams focusing on some of these areas basically. So what happens is then it is like more than one people. Yes, strategically you start talking to each other. It creates a cohesive environment. People
Mm.
start understanding each other, and the silos were broken basically. Otherwise,
Right.
I'm a production man. Why would I look into supply chain and blah and so on and so forth? We broke the silos and we connected the silos together basically as a
Good.
technical collaboration.
Super. Typically, whatever I've seen, whenever a person comes from a larger organization, he or she comes with a bigger view, maybe 20,000 feet view. And then once that person lands, it typically there is a kind of the way the two gears meet each other and start rolling smoothly, right? In mechanical terms. So there is a little bit of
Right.
friction and mismatch and backlash that happens for both sides to get adjusted. Uh, what do you think is the critical thing one has to have in mind as a leader to be successful and as an organization to be flexible, both sides?
Very good question, Shirish. I will give maybe a spiritual inclination to the question and then answer it. Okay.
Absolutely.
As you rightly said, health of the organization and health of the individual is very important. Okay. I personally practice yoga and pranayam. And the moment I joined the organization, I started preaching that thing to everybody and said, every morning 15 minutes for yourself is must, basically.
Wow. Okay.
So people thought, yes, somebody is talking about me, but I don't care. He is coming from some outside world, just talking, maybe just to give it a knowledge base, etc. May not be practicing also, but then, okay, I did that thing. I looked at this business and adjusting myself with this environment in two ways. Lord Sri Krishna, where he was always used to be a back leader and he will mentor and he will let the things move and get the things done from the people. Lord Rama, where he would do everything and people will be behind him. So two types of leadership, a front leader and a back leader. You know, what I looked at this scenario is that I said that I cannot be always at the front. I cannot be always at the back. I used to switch my roles, back and front. Okay. And during this whole scenario, what I did was I did bonding with everybody. There were many negative thinkers and many negative preachers for me. I worked with them very closely. Said that you are great. I don't know anything here. Okay. And let's change the environment here. Out of 10, I would say I was successful in converting 8, but then 2 couldn't match. Okay. And they didn't gel well. And they thought that this is not going to go anywhere. And believe me, now they are wherever they are, I wish them all the best. Okay. But then what it gave a lesson to the rest of the organization is that here is a man who's going to not only take us to the next level, but he is going to be with us till the nth level.
So it's all started with the focus on the individual.
Yes.
Started with the
so
focus
individual
on the
and a team, basically. Taken together. And that's where I think the timing of 8:30 to 5 mentality was there, which I took out of their mind. And I said, guys, here we work for ourselves. I report to myself. Okay. There is nothing called I report to my manager, and since I have to update that manager, I'm doing. No, I said, be an entrepreneur of your own machine, your own function, and your own growth. Any failure is mine. Every success is yours. What that made a difference is people started taking risk, and that attitude and aptitude of taking new and new growth avenues were coming from the people itself. So we say Kaizen. I never so-called term that any improvement as in Kaizen. Later, yes, of course, we renamed that as Kaizen. But then I made everybody sure that, okay, you do what you think is very appropriate for the function. Bring in the change. The change is celebrated. The change agent, you are a change agent, and you become a role model for somebody else. So of course, all the learnings of change agent and philosophies of all these things helped me from my General Electric days, basically. Okay. And that helped me create tomorrow's leaders in these fluid controls. Super. And that's what I said. We have people who joined with us as operator, and they retired with us. Wonderful. Okay. So if an operator stays and if an engineer stays, so yes, attrition also is good for blood circulation, but okay, it's not only the solution of changing a person or throwing a person and getting somebody in. No, it takes a lot of time in terms of throwing and getting and stabilizing the whole process till then. Okay. Whereas I always looked at this that, okay, now I'm married. Every day cannot be a divorce. Let's work together.
Wonderful, wonderful. As we look at the span of control and focus that you had been exercising, looking back, what is that something, do you think something that you could have done in a different way if you were given a chance now, being, a person who has made the changes successfully?
Yes, definitely. I mean, always there is a room for improvement, and continuous improvement is the always way to go. But as I said, I used to tell everybody that, okay, what I did yesterday, I don't want to do it today. Let me change. When I look back, I always see that some of the sequence which I was trying to do it in parallel, okay, didn't work basically. Didn't work because of the individual's capability and the organizational so-called infrastructure. Okay. Was I clear from that angle in the beginning? Maybe not. Maybe not. And hence I did parallel processing. Okay. And in that parallel processing, I figured out at times that one or two things lag behind. Okay. So you as an individual need to keep a list of the items and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 every day done or not done. So the tracking mechanism establishment which I did was very good, but then everybody tracking from that angle was not happening, and that's where I said that some of my parallel initiatives failed basically. Okay, of course there was a learning, no doubt in it, but then if I have to share my learnings of saying that okay, what one should not do, I would say that okay, don't launch parallelly many things, and if you launch, have the clear tracking mechanism, rather pass on to somebody else rather keeping it to yourself.
Wonderful.
Because every day also everybody has a limit of tracking it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Great. I think that's a great admiration about things really going well, and looking back also certain things could be done in a different way. So I think it's a great submission. Appreciate that. That's wonderful learning. And out of 100 initiatives that we take, maybe 1995 might fail.
Yeah.
5 are successful. So definitely it's important. Going back to a little bit of a nitty-gritty of this kind of maybe product, as products get broken into individual subsystems, the assembly becomes sub-assemblies to become bill of material, right? BOM, technically known.
Right.
And eventually translating that at the time of receiving order, design time, to eventually getting it dispatched. So as you have implemented ERP end to end, inquisitive mind is trying to ask, how did you manage? Because there is a resistance where people say, start bill of material nahi banega iska. So how did you manage?
I agree. In fact, of course, investment in ERP is the easiest thing, but the ERP implementation is the toughest thing for an organization. Okay, for two reasons: people don't want to change the way they work, and the ERP brings in more transparency into the system. So people's importance in the system at times go off basically, and that's where people want to fail such initiatives. Okay, so the implementation of ERP is the biggest lesson. Day in and night outs were the reasons, and of course the hard work was the thing. But then what I did in that, and I realized, of course, as you are trying to point out, is that iska bill of material banega nahi. That's the easiest thing people say. Hamare yahan we cannot have so many part numbers created, coding done, and blah 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 thing. But believe me, what I did was I created brand ambassadors for each of the functions. I said, okay, we have valves, fittings, clamps as some of these product verticals. For each of these vertical, I made an individual 1 or 2 member team, okay, to drive that thing, where one will be an owner and one will be a rather opposer, okay, who doesn't want to do it. But then you give him a hat, her or individual hat, and say that you are the driver with us. So what happens over a period of time, that particular opposition may not get converted to support, but at least it will get into neutralization basically. Okay? So you are not wanting to create only promoters, but you are trying to reduce the detractors basically. So in ERP implementation, my biggest suggestion to everybody is that take team along with you. Right. Don't only decide as an individual, as a owner of the organization or a driver of the organization to have ERP. No, let everybody make that shared need felt that ERP is a solution basically. And believe me, if not today, tomorrow definitely one has to go for it. So let's not get into an hi-fi ERP in the beginning. Let's take a baby step in the beginning and let's then boil the ocean later to that next level, basically.
Wonderful.
But then taking people along with you is the only key solution, basically.
Right, right. As we see a picture of ERP getting implemented across the orders, order management kind of a thing, eventually you would have pieces like CAD systems connecting to them, product life management, PLM systems connecting to them. So do you think, whole of this process resulted into a lot of standardization, a lot of commonization of components and processes?
I mean, if I say no, it will be totally wrong, frankly. I would say it has not resulted. It started giving us that spark, saying that how many components you can standardize together
Okay.
where designs are common, you can get a bulk discount from your supplier. Okay, you can manage your inventory very well. Okay, and of course you can do an optimization of the component designs.
Super.
So believe me, the SolidWorks sort of software, or we do have ANSYS as a finite element method software, etc., have given us a digitization benefit of standardizing many things. Imagining any component in 2D and imagining in 3D, and of course with the right fitment, etc., is two different things. So inventory and product standardization, and believe me, the output was supply of quality and on time. So timely delivery improved, and the quality, of course, in internal rejection also drastically came down, basically. So the ERP and this, as you were trying to say, the 3D modeling and sort of drilling down to their individual assemblies, sub-assemblies and components really helped us to drill down level and get the inventory benefit out of it also.
Wonderful. As typically we manage our control on the organization to the extent of maybe sales to manage the order, and certain degree of maybe CRM, customer management, relationship management aspect. So do you think that piece of technology or that piece of awareness, firstly it is, awareness of how you manage the customer. You have to manage it, right? You don't have to list them.
Yes,
And
yes.
so do you think that is an important aspect which help your growth path as you are building segments and
Yes.
various industries?
Shirish, I look at this as a twofold question.
Mm.
CRM helps you track your customers, classify them in terms of are they tomorrow's budgetary offer or today's confirm inquiries, etc., etc., and help you track wherever you have quoted, etc. That's very important and very essential. And to the second level, in terms of understanding customer, going to customers, teaching them about your products, or driving some initiatives like at customer for customer. Okay, many times those initiatives help you bring customer and your teams together. So what we did was we use all these digitization techniques of awareness of our products to customer, common emailers, then technical information brochures, leaflets, etc., or any new launch of your product, share that thing with an auto email to customers, etc. And the CRM in terms of understanding customers' needs, specifically classifying them and building the customer database, basically helped us bring in more customers and, more than anything, turning them around in their offers. Many times you get an RFQ, but you usually fail to quote on time, and that's the first and the last impression spoiled with the customer. What I realized from that angle is that if you have this CRM and you have this ERP, any RFQ coming in will help you turn around faster, basically, and constant communication with customer gets established through all these mechanisms. And this is very essential to have that customer connect, and that helped us build the customer, I would say, not only concentricity and eccentricity reduced, but I would say the customer connect helped us bond together in terms of the preferred supplier as such.
Amazing. I think, segmentation of customers as far as the markets goes verticals goes, as well as the importance from the point of view of the size of revenue. Class A, Class
Yes.
B, Class C kind of a customer is
Yes.
absolutely critical. I believe that's something, if you have achieved it, that's really wonderful. Now, flipping a little bit back, looking back, if imagine that there is something that is a choice, a thought process where you see that typically we say that what I have learned from corporate back here, and what this is something that I've got from corporate here. I would like to ask this a flip over question, a reverse question, a hypothetical question. I also always think that, if I go back to say BMC Software, or if I go to Geometric, or if I go to TCS, what is that I'm going to do there that I have learned here, which is different? So do you have some kind of thoughts on that, like what bigger organizations should learn from MSME?
Right. I mean, informally, I always say that in bigger organization, there are smaller problems, but they are made big. In smaller organization, the problems are big, but they are never made big and they are solved faster.
Okay.
The silos working in bigger organization really kills, basically, because why would I go to the next desk person and talk about my problem or his problem or her problem? Whereas in a smaller organization, you are well connected with each other in terms of the not only solving the problem but understanding the problem. Okay, so if I worked with GE for 10 years and now almost 10 years with fluid controls, and if somebody asks me what I would like to, given an opportunity to go back with GE and start working on that, believe me, I will say that what happens in this MSME world is the faster decisions, which in the corporate world are always delayed decisions, because I always feel here there is a clear owner and onus of success and failure. In the bigger organization, people spend more time in FYI and nobody wants to take a decision, basically. So
Okay.
the all of us come from that bigger field, where I say that now today also in my current organization, fluid controls, what I have done is a delegation of authorities. You are free to take the decision. Your success is your success, your failure, it is not your failure. I own the failure as a owner of the business, as a leader of the business.
Right.
In bigger organization, everybody wants to get recognized themselves, saying that I did it, and if it is a failure, it is because of somebody else.
Right.
So that culture, I think I would still like to pass on. I know it is implementing in an elephant scale is difficult and impossible, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible, But then this is the flip side. I would like definitely to give my thought and suggestion that if this is done, believe me, bigger organizations still can be more faster, productive, and fast decision making.
Superb. Taking a little bit to the latest technologies that we see. We spoke a little bit about IT, but in manufacturing, you see a trend about additive manufacturing in the form of, say, 3D printing.
Right.
Where you design something and you just print it out. So process of manufacturing gets reduced to just printing it out. It's simply said and really done, and it is still to be established as a norm for the materials and for the components we are talking. But have you given a thought, or how do you look at this change coming? Because in fluid, the limited that I know is all the components are super critical, and if you kind of get a complete wall printed, I'm just talking theoretically, it will be boon. But I think if you can throw some realistic light on where do you stand in this journey.
Shirish, in fact, 3D printing is a blessing to the humanity, if I have to summarize. Okay. Yes. Currently, commercially, it is not working out for whatever reasons. We at Fluid Controls also even have done the 3D printing of some of our components. Given the criticality of expectations of our product, I know at this point, our customer also will not accept that 3D printing of those products initially. The second thing is, the volume what we are talking is in terms of millions of components, and the 3D printing currently is not going to that level of volumes basically.
Automation.
Okay, so if I have to carve out and use this 3D printing, which we have used, is that any new product development which we want to do, we usually go via 3D printing and make it faster.
As a prototype, yeah.
Yes. So prototyping, do it through 3D, and then come back and do your conventional scaling up, basically. If you go the other way, conventional and prototype building, it takes you good amount of time, starting from jigs, fixture, tools, and measurements, and blah, blah, blah things. Whereas in 3D printing, development of a product and a part is at a very faster rate, which we have done for a couple of our products. So 3D printing, as I said, is a blessing, and currently we are exploring it from the product development perspective.
Okay. I think that's important because it is going. It will take some time, but it will land, and we'll see that it is
Definitely.
commercialized and used not only as a part of prototyping, but eventually as a part of actual manufacturing in mass production.
Yes.
That is eventually possible. Now, taking a little bit of a turn and asking you, what's your personal aspiration, or where do you want to take? There are two dimensions. One is personal aspiration of what you want to be, if you could share that, and the second is where do you want to take this company to?
Right. In fact, I will answer the second question first, because the first get answer if I answer the second.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Well said.
This organization, what we have currently, as I said, is we are trying to now go on a global footprints. Okay. So everybody says that we are a private limited company. I want to come out with an IPO, this and that. Of course, those are the given things. There are nothing specific about it. But then what we are looking at is that now we are looking at in terms of scaling up and getting aligned with the right partners into the geographies, basically, so that the product and the scalability and reach to the customers will increase. Okay. So if I say that I want this fluid controls organization to take to the nth level of scalability in terms of not only the turnover, but in terms of products, geographies, and sustainability in terms of the continuity of the business, basically. Okay. And on that individual level, I always feel that yes, individually I'm contented person, but more than my contentness, I want organization to feel that contentness in terms of the path forward. Okay. So coming days, nobody need to worry in terms of customers adding or geographies adding or the products line up. I want to set this organization to autopilot to that level where things will keep growing, things will keep moving, and me as an individual can only be just looking at these things and say that, okay, I think we have planned this way and we are going on that path only.
Wonderful. Another kind of a question that was coming in my mind, you have done your PhD, so wonderful to have done a PhD from IIT Mumbai. One question is about, how many times do you think that, that whatever you've done or learned in a research is definitely coming to a realization? It is helping, it is where I'm using it, I'm implementing it. And the second part of the question would be, if you are, and I think you might be, thinking of doing another PhD, which I also think about that I should be doing, maybe the first one for me. But what would be that area of research?
Wonderful, Shirish. I think you touched now my research mindset. Okay. What I learned in research and PhD is taking out milk, not the water. Okay. So there are 100 times you will fail, but 101 times you will come out with a success. And that methodology is what one learns in research, basically. Okay. Which I really enjoyed. And of course, it gives you a bandwidth of putting in more efforts, hard work, and connectivity, and so on and so forth. So I learned to look for a problem whose solution is unknown, basically. Okay. The second thing is, if I have, of course, I am a visiting faculty, etc., today, which I enjoy. But if I want to do a research again, this time I wouldn't do a research on a technical product aspect. This time I would like to do research on a people aspect.
Okay.
And mainly in human resources, I would like to do research, because I feel that now, having implemented many things in this couple of years in a couple of platforms, I would like to do that research and would like to uh, either disprove the hypothesis or prove the hypothesis that what you have learned and what you are still want to do as a research is still in sync.
Superb, superb. I think maybe I'll just open this with a kind of thought is either motivation or theory of resistance. There are 8 degrees of resistance, right? Maybe one of these could be your topic, maybe close to your heart.
Definitely.
Right. Okay. Now we cannot go further, but without the subject that comes, which is near and dear to your heart, and the kind of work that you are doing is about industry academia.
Right.
As close to, very close to your heart, where you are spending time, energies. What is the motivation behind it? What is the intent? Where do you see that is going, Anshul?
Okay. Shirish, I look at this way that all of us, when we run the organization, we hire people. Many times we hire experienced people, many times we hire trainees. And I have seen, of course, always a gap between the theoretical subjects and a practical implementation. Okay. And we keep talking about saying, oh, but the student needs to be taught this and they need to be trained, etc. What I personally believe is that when you teach someone, you learn more. Okay. And as an industry people, you have a lot of examples of success or failure or theory of implementation of a particular concept. So in this industry institution relationship building, what I have started doing is I have started sharing the theory, the thoughts, and the practical implementation of the theory. And as a corporate social responsibility of the organization as well as myself, what I feel is that when you teach others, you learn. When you teach others, you can create a brand of your organization also. And when you teach others, I think you are giving an individual technology to fish. That particular thing is beyond any blessings or beyond any simply monetary donation. What doesn't come in life is the only one thing, which is time. So when you teach, you are forget taking money of that visiting lectureship, etc. or not, but what you are donating is time. And that time donation, if you do it, believe me, it also gives you satisfaction, the mental satisfaction. But you are creating tomorrow's leaders. You are you are trying to prevent those failures which through which you have won, basically. So the knowledge sharing platform of industry institution is really, really must. And I think many of these institutes around and these organizations, what they are trying to do is really a good thing. But I think all of us together can come together and sort of solidly have a center of excellences in terms of sharing the knowledge, resources, etc. And that's really must for all of us to see that we get a good talent for our businesses tomorrow.
Right, right. I think it is nicely said that it is a sense of giving back from wherever we have learned, maybe 30, 40 years back. But realistically, MSME, whatever is lacking in MSME in the form of, say, funds for buying software, funds for really hiring people. Here you see that, these individuals who are students and their professors are aspiring for research, which is their bread and butter, or
Right.
that's where they are existing. I think that brings a good bridge between these two entities. I think that is what
Yes. Yes.
is the message. Awesome, awesome. I think I am finding that you're absolutely inspired and in a positive state of mind. So my question would be, what is that you're following? Whether it is some role model, some person, or many persons that you follow, where you get that energy, you get that kind of positive mentality.
In fact, see, I always, as I said in the beginning, I do that pranayama, yoga, and spirituality just to keep you energized. Okay. And if you can encourage and energize others, I think that's the biggest thing. because everything cannot be purchased or everything cannot be given as a injections and say that, okay, now I am like having an integrity injection taken, so I know how to follow that. No. So when you say role model, I always look at hardworking as a role model, where I have my research guide from IIT Mumbai as a role model for me in terms of hardworking. GE's ex-CEO who recently passed, Jack Welch, John F. Welch, is my business role model, where he scaled up the business in terms of growth, and of course he made it sustained as well. Okay, and individually I look at my parents who taught me all these individual things, and I think more than we knowing ourselves, our parents know us more better.
True.
You know.
True.
So from that angle, I see these three as my role models in terms of inspiring me and trying to do something always different than what I did yesterday.
Superb. I think there is a message of definitely giving back and giving respects to others' individuality, where we have learned from. I think that is immensely important. That to a reference of a parent who do things tirelessly, thanklessly,
Right.
and we eventually actually gain out of it. So it's a great message. Maybe as we get to the closure of this discussion, Tansen, any kind of message you want to give for people who are looking up maybe to join or start businesses like Fluid Controls, start with maybe a couple of crores of lakhs of rupees. Any message that you want to pass on to them to look forward?
Sure. I think as a message would be summary of my, of course, learning. But then I would always say that only hard work is the solution. Never underestimate any thinking and efforts of yourself, whether it is failure or whether it is success. Never underestimate yourself. Be proud of what you do. Be enthused of everything what you do, basically. The third thing is, short term and long term, of course, are always relative words, but never look at short term saying that I started doing this, I want to do this, etc. Nobody here can predict what happens tomorrow. So sincere efforts, hard working, dedication, without getting disturbed by everyday facts. The clear thinker is basically my suggestion, and my to any new entrepreneur who want to come around and want to start something on own basically. But I would say that be patient. For every problem, time is the only solution.
Superb. I think nicely put, where it's clear that one has to think longer as preparing for short term is important. Be marathon runner. Have that kind of stamina. Stamina in the form of all. Also, M factor is important. Money is also important. To be able to run that long and have your own patience. Keep motivating yourself.
Yes.
I think that's wonderful. Tansen, it was wonderful interaction with you. It is immensely insightful. Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks, Shirish. It was great talking to you, and I think your Hatke initiative is, of course, a very out-of-box thought process, where you want to share the knowledge with the masses, basically. It's a great initiative, and my best wishes and compliments to you. And I really enjoyed talking and sharing my thoughts with you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. I think it is mutual learning, as you said. So it is a great thing to learn many things from the experienced person like you. All best wishes from us, all of us, to you, Tansen, individually, as a person, and as profession, to see Fluid Controls also growing northwards. We should hear from getting it IPO, or more than that, becoming a global company as we see it. All the best, and all best wishes to you.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Shirish. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
बिजनेस कोई भी हो, सक्सेस की नींव हम रखते हैं। बुलंदियों को छूने की आपके अरमानों की उम्मीद जगाती जोत है, हर सपनों का हम स्रोत है। सही स्ट्रेटेजी, परफेक्ट डिसीजन मेकिंग और बिजनेस ग्रोथ के लिए हम आपके साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर आपकी स्वप्न पूर्ति करते हैं। स्रोत कंसल्टेक, सिनर्जाइजिंग ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन।